What are you doing?
Filming?
Pictures of us?
Yeah.
Can I get your badge number?
0016.
Go.
Is it shiny enough for you?
It's very shiny, sir.
All right. Give me your driver's license, Mr. Fifth Amendment rights.
You filming right now?
I am.
How come?
He's got a camera on. He's got a camera on me right now as we're talking.
I am Rico Morales. This is the Friday edition of the Morning Blend, and I am here with Michelle Gross and Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you? How are you all doing?
Doing great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming in. And I just want to say, photography has served as an important check in government power in the airline security contacts and other places. Taking photographs of things that are plainly visible from public spaces is a constitutional right. Andrew Henderson spent a year fighting the criminal charges against him and said he was passed up for about 10 jobs when background checks showed that he was being prosecuted for filming paramedics and sheriff's deputies outside his apartment complex. Good morning, Andrew. Can you tell us a little bit more about that history and about what you're doing about that these days?
Sure. So one night I was coming home from work and stopped on a bench outside of my apartment building to have a cigarette before I retired for the evening. When a couple sheriff's deputies, along with a couple paramedics, were walking a gentleman outside, in which they frisked this gentleman down. He smoked a cigarette and went into an ambulance. And I filmed this interaction. And, you know, there was no police misconduct. Nothing was going wrong here. He wasn't getting beaten. And, you know, I just filmed it, and I was going to delete the recording because there was no point to this recording. When a sheriff's deputy came up to me and asked me what I was doing, and I said, well, I'm filming. And she snatched the camera out of my hand, and she told me if she ends up on YouTube, she was going to be upset. She later charged me with obstruction of justice and disorderly conduct. The ACLU of Minnesota got involved. We fought this case tooth and nail. It was like 17, 18 months before the case was done. And I was found not guilty after a 3-day trial by a jury of 6. They deliberated for about a half an hour, I've been helping other people film their interactions and other interactions throughout the community with police officers ever since.
So go ahead and film everything or anything that you can, or are there certain limits? And I'm here with Michelle Gross as well. She can speak and add to this conversation.
Yes. So in addition to working on the campaign, to ensure the police, I'm also the president of Communities United Against Police Brutality. And one of the things that we did was we took a case called Glick v. Cuniff all the way up to the federal appeals court level, and through that case we codified nationally the right of people to videotape police and document their conduct. And so this is one of the most important First Amendment based rights that we have, is the ability to document the conduct of these professionals. And so yes, you can, anywhere police are engaged in any kind of business, you can videotape those police. And not only can you do it, but we would strongly encourage you to do it. People are familiar, of course, with the Philando Castillo case because of the very courageous actions of his girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, and the fact that she videotaped the encounter and then live streamed it out. So that's the other thing. Don't just videotape, but get a mechanism where your film footage is sent to the cloud or away from your phone, because in that case, as in many cases, as what would happen with Andrew, they snatch the phones or the cameras. But if you have a mechanism to send it elsewhere, they can snatch the device, but they can't snatch the film. And so that's a really important lesson. And Andrew can talk about that quite a bit too.
Could you tell us maybe how to preserve or save or back up your files, or how would people know that? Or
Well, I use a cell phone app called Bamboozer. Basically, as soon as you hit the record button, it starts streaming off to the cloud to an offsite location where you can or your attorney or your friends can access that later. So if you should get arrested, there will be documentation of what actually happened versus the police narrative. There's also Cell 411, which does live streaming now. I use that app quite often, actually.
Cell 411?
Cell 411, and you can also
SELF or
CELL.
Okay, cell 411.
Cell 411, and you can actually use that to alert others that you're having a police interaction. So if you have friends or even strangers in the area, they can come and witness it and film that and live stream it, so that there is some kind of proof of what happened rather than just an officer's word.
So tell me, what about you're doing these days? Where your location? Tell me about some current events.
Sure. Well, I'm located in Little Canada, but I do a lot of work with Communities United Against Police Brutality. I'm the Cop Watch coordinator for them, and I often give Know Your Rights and Cop Watch trainings to various communities throughout the Twin Cities area. Teaching people how to effectively and legally film police officers.
And what are you familiar with this recent incident with Philando Castile, or?
Very much so. I mean, I've watched that video, and I mean, Diamond did an amazing job. I mean, I don't think I could have been that calm with someone bleeding to death next to me. She was very smart, just an amazing woman for doing that, and I give her full credit, and I encourage other people that if they have an interaction with police, start that live streaming immediately.
As soon as you see the lights,
right,
or you're getting pulled over.
Part of the thing that we need to talk about is how important it is that we document police ourselves. Much has been made about these body cameras and all this money. Minneapolis spent $6.4 million on body cameras. And then immediately the legislature put a law into effect. And Andrew knows quite a bit about this too, because he was down at the legislature with me. We were down there extensively trying to fight this battle to prevent them from putting a law into place that would block access to the footage. But at this point, we have a state law that makes access to body camera footage virtually impossible. And so for that reason, we cannot rely on the police to document their own conduct. Even with these body cameras, and everybody thought this was a great solution, we really have to do that documentation ourselves. And that's the thing that, will ensure some measures of justice, and certainly ensure at least that we document police conduct.
So people need to back up their cameras, their photos, their files. And I believe what I do, for me personally, I've got some videos and some cameras and some pictures. I just have my phone set to automatically back up instantaneously. There's a setting in Google or other Apple stores or whatever device you're using. You can put the settings to back up and auto back up every single thing you do and take. As soon as you're done with that photo or video, it automatically does it. It'll back it up to the cloud, to your email address, to your Drive folder, stuff like that. And can you tell, Andrew, us about what you're doing in Falcon Heights and why you're there?
Well, I grew up in that area. I mean, that's literally my backyard. I have traveled down that street where they got pulled over more times than I can count. I mean, literally thousands of times.
Have you ever been pulled over?
I have been pulled over on that street, probably blocks away from where they were.
By an officer? Or?
By an officer, a St. Anthony police officer. My interaction was actually very good. The traffic stop lasted a minute and a half. The officer was very kind to me, very professional.
But you still recorded it?
Of course I still recorded it. No matter what, I'm going to record it. And I'm gonna stream it. Usually I stream in private more than just putting it out there publicly, just because I don't want a police department to see that footage and be able to develop a legal case based on that footage. I want that footage to be private, and only I can view it until I want to put it out there for the public to view.
So even if someone takes away your phone or your device, they can take it and have it and do whatever they want with it, because you've got files saved on your Drive, saved on your cloud, on your Gmail or whatever, Apple or whatever, because that's automatic, and they won't be able to access that, or will they?
Well, what you're raising is an extremely important issue, because, Andrew talks about he uses Bamboozer, and I use it also, because it creates an account for you where you control the access to the footage. And where this became very important was in the immediate aftermath of the Jamar Clark shooting. I was called to the scene within just a few hours of the incident and was talking to people up there who who were witnesses. And I heard the same story over and over again. People had their cell phones snatched away from them, stolen from them at gunpoint by Minneapolis police. Those cell phones disappeared along with the footage, and it was a tragedy because a great deal of important footage that would have settled a number of questions is never to be seen again. You know, who knows what happened to those phones? They're probably at the bottom of the Mississippi. You know, we don't know what they are. But the bottom line is, because they weren't, the film footage wasn't, you know, streamed off to the cloud. Because of that, we don't have that footage available to us. And so that's an important lesson for the community. Videotape the police. Yes, absolutely document them, but do it in a way that allows you to preserve the footage, even if the device is taken.
And do you have final thoughts for us?
Yeah, I just really encourage everybody to just start filming police interactions, even if they're not yours, even if it's just somebody on the street. I mean, just capture that footage. I would personally rather have footage and not use it than to need that footage and not have it.
It's kind of sort of like having a self-defense issue or technique or tactic or whatever you use. You know, it's better to have it or to know it and not need it than to need it and not have it. You know, this technology these days and the media these days is automatically backed up and archived, and I just think that, you know, there's so much good things that are happening. Yeah, we need communities, we need relationships, but I'd like to thank Michelle Gross and Andrew Henderson. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having us today.
Thanks for having me.
If I end up on YouTube, I'm going to be upset.